Let's get rocking and rolling here. Chat. Okay, guys, I'm going to attempt something. Let's see if we can do it this morning. I'd love to get just a little bit of participation from you. I know it's always hard when we are doing this virtually, but we've had some good success with it in the past. I'd love to generate just some comments here about what I'm going to talk about. You can throw them in the chat line. I'm seeing some thumbs up. That's great. So yeah, just whatever comes to your mind after I ask a few questions, I'd love for you to write that down. So guys, I'll never forget years and years ago, I was a pretty new agent actually. I was given the opportunity to go and do this television. I'm trying to think of what it was. It was like basically it's a news interview for a story about the housing market. This was back in 2007 or 2008. And again, I was like a brand new agent, newish. And it was kind of like a scary moment for me, but it was like, oh, cool, I'm going to be on the news and stuff. And so it was kind of interesting when I did this. I jumped on our local news station later that day and checked out the story. And I was like, cool, this is awesome. Showing my family, showing my kids. Actually, I didn't have any kids born at that time, but my wife and friends, whatever. And anyway, I'm looking at the story and like, I'm kind of smiling like, this is so cool. And then I start reading the comments in the comment section and my smiles are all of a sudden turning to uncomfortable. And I'm all of a sudden like, what in the world, as I'm reading the public comments. Now, again, this is before like social media was huge and trolling and all that stuff. It was just like, people were freaking mean on there about not me personally per se, but just about the real estate industry and about real estate agents. And I was like, holy cow, what business did I get into? I remember being kind of blown away when I saw that and started reading those things. And I had no idea that there was even any type of negativity surrounding the profession, you know? And when I say that, look, if you're not aware, it's just that it's anything in sales, right? People kind of have this negative thing, a certain group of people that have some type of negative thing. They happen to be the same people that sit in the basement apartment and just spend their whole life trolling people online. So can't take it too badly, but it was interesting at that moment to kind of think, holy cow, like there's a bad perception from some people. And what I remember that time is I was determined to make sure, like, how do I step up my game? How do I make sure that the idea of being like a snake oil salesman is not the perception of what I'm doing in my business? And I know for sure what happened is that I learned more about what my job is and what my job was to be as a professional. And that's what I want to talk about with you briefly today. And look, these are things I believe are contained right inside your script book. We've been talking about them for years, but boy, they're so important when you start to look at your job and what you're supposed to do each and every day. And when you try to define, well, what is the value of an agent? Truly, what is the value of an agent? You know, I hear a lot right now going on from agents talking about for sale by owners, and well, for sale by owners are no good to work with right now because they can sell their house on their own. And I kind of like to go, time out. Is that the only value that you bring as a real estate professional, is your ability to get a home under contract? And I've seen the light bulbs going off in people's heads going, wait a minute, no, not at all. And so I want to talk to you about these areas that I just think are really phenomenal and important for us. So it is your job. And the job is this. I'll give them to you right now. Number one, to consult and advise. Number two, to market and expose. And number three is to oversee the transaction. Consult and advise, market and expose, and oversee the transaction. I want you to think about those three things for just a moment and consider what those mean. And let's just dive in right now. And the reason why I like to do this is to create a list for you that is so imperative, that's a little bit almost exhausting in some ways, but it's good. And I know some people are laying in bed watching this right now. Some of you are sitting at your desk. Some of you are, but if you have the opportunity to grab a pen and paper, or grab your phone, whatever it is, to just take a few notes. I'm telling you, if everyone will participate, this will be really powerful. So I want you to pause for just a moment and ask yourself, I'm going to ask you the question. I want you to come up with an answer and add it to the chat line, okay? And so we've got, how many people are on this? 40, almost 50 people. We should be able to get at least 15 or 20 comments pretty quickly here. So I just want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself this. What do I do as a real estate professional to consult and advise my clients? What things am I consulting and advising my clients on? What professional advice and opinions should I be giving? I'll give you one example. Condition of your home for a showing, staging, title and escrow, right? Think about it. You just make this list. So let's jump on and let's get a few things going here. I'm going to go quiet for just a second, not long. We don't even need to get music going. And let's pull up the chat line and see what's going. What areas and what do you do to market and expose, to consult and advise your clients? What do you do? Pull it up and let's see. Getting some. Rick Bentley says knowledge and experience is my value. April Oaks, great. Market stats. Are you advising and consulting your clients on market stats? Let's get some more ideas on there, guys. The process. Good, Jeanette. Expectations. That is enormous. What should they expect? Let's keep going. I got to look something up because I know I'm missing something for some reason. And I think about this all the time. There it is. I got it. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Process, listen and understand their needs and wants to understand the goals. Very good. First-time home buyer meeting, future pacing, future pace, future pace. Good job, guys. Negotiations, contract deadlines, therapist. That's very good. I'm assuming that's what. Okay, that's good. We're getting some good comments there. Think about for just a moment, if a client was to say to you, well, what can you help me with? What can you do? What do you, and you start to go, well, it's the consult and advise. Hold on. Does Rick Bentley have people bringing him breakfast every morning? Wow. What a good deal. Good job, Rick. All right. So consult and advise. I love those answers you gave. Guys, define that for your client. When I was selling full time and I had an opportunity to stand in front of a buyer or a seller or whatever, I would tell them, look, what separates me from my competition is that I understand my job. May I share with you what I know a real estate agent's job is? Number one, to consult and advise. Number two, to market and expose. This one I missed a minute ago, guys. Number three, negotiate. And number four, oversee the transaction. When I would share with people that, it was huge. And so if I have a for sale by owner that says, well, why do I need an agent? I can just get this under contract. You say, well, here's the different areas in which in my profession that I will be consulting you on. And guys, you can do nothing more than pull up the list that was just created right here and talk about, you're going to get multiple offers. How do you know which one is the best one to choose? How do you know which one is the best one to negotiate? How do we future pace? What's going to happen to avoid the inspection and problems with the loan? Market statistics and the value of your property, right? What are you trying to accomplish? I mean, there's so much more that we're not putting in. We're not talking about, we're talking about market stats, but how about the pricing of the home, the condition of the home, which title company to be using, confirming that the people are actually pre-qualified, and knowing that the pre-qualification letter does nothing for you unless you're talking to the person, right? Anybody worked with those for sale by owners who get the house under contract 3 or 4 times because they just can't pick the right house? They don't understand how to do it. It's massive. So our job is to consult and advise. Okay, number 2, any participation would be very welcome here. market, and expose. Think about this. You should be able to come up with an answer. What do you do? Let's try to get 5 to 10 of these. What do you do as a real estate agent to market and expose a property when you take it? Let's get some chats going here. What do you do? I'm going to give it 1 minute and maybe up to 5 things. There we go. Thank you for participating. Hire a professional photographer, videographer. That's wonderful. Of course you do. Of course you do that. Someone else then adds the MLS. Yes. And here's what I love about this, guys, is that can anybody hire with money at the MLS and put their phone and hire a photographer and get postcards out? Anyone can do it, but does anyone do it? Right? Think about it. And how well do they do it? Let's keep going. Good social media marketing, C21 Relocation Network, Door Drop the Neighborhood. I'm loving this, guys. Think of all the answers that you can give to your clients and potential clients on what you do to market and expose their home. It's not just about sticking it on the MLS. It's how you might use that MLS to your advantage differently. I know here in Utah, our MLS is packed with different tools and technologies. And my belief is that most agents are kind of like just using the very minimum available to them through the MLS. Very good. Call the neighborhood, right? There's so much that you could do to create more exposure, more marketing for a property. So very, very good. I love that. Let's keep rolling with this. Third item, negotiate. Okay, your job is to consult and advise, market and expose, and negotiate. Number 3, how do we negotiate? This is the one I love to talk about. And the reason that it's so imperative is because the joke that I used to say is that I knew my competition, their idea of negotiating was, can I get your name? And I used to say fax number, believe it or not. Can I get your fax number? I'm going to send over an offer. That was what negotiating was at the time. And I remember telling the front desk worker, hey, there's a fax that's going to be coming through for me. Can we pay attention to that? Or you'd hear the beeping going on saying, there's a fax coming through. Like, it's so funny and ancient to think about. But we used to do it and it was awesome. So be thinking about that for a moment. Like when you look at that and your idea and concept of negotiation, what do you do to negotiate? What are your expertise? How well do you know how to work with people? Guys, there have been volumes and volumes of books written about the world of negotiating. And it's really quite a fair question. Like, what is your negotiating strategy? And are you going to your clients with a negotiation strategy? I mean, imagine how that made you feel when I asked you that question. What is your negotiating strategy? Some of you probably felt very positive and confident. Some of you might have gone, ugh. Okay, well, consider this for a moment. What if you were to ask a client that question? Hey, what's your negotiation strategy? Like for sell by owner, expired, someone saying, I can do this on my own. Well, tell me this, what's your negotiation strategy? Or to a buyer in this market that thinks, well, they're so much better if they go off without an agent right now. And you say, share with me a little bit about your negotiation strategy in this market. And what is that buyer going to do? What are they going to say? And then what if you're able to come back to them with something intelligent to say about your negotiation strategy? So boy, if I were you right now and working full time and per our 12 steps to the summit of success, spending some time each day developing your business and working on your business, what if you were to come up with what your negotiation strategy is? What are the approaches you like to say? And look, you probably already have one set. You probably have a consistent thing that you use. Get it down on paper. Write it down so you can say, boom, like a memo. Negotiation strategy. Step 1, ask questions. Boom. Like, what are the questions you're going to ask? What's your common plan, right? Be thinking about that. And of course, the flexibility to work with different agents, right? Boy, I want to go down a tangent with that, but I'm not going to right now. So number one, consult and advise. Number two, market and expose. Number three, negotiate. Did we get any thoughts there about negotiating? Consult and advise. Third one, negotiate. Fourth one is oversee the transaction. Okay. Knowledge equals confidence. Well said, Jeannie. That's totally true. And that's why I say they're kind of gap fillers in a way. Like everybody on this call right now, you probably have a negotiation strategy already. Or sometimes it's like you may not follow a script per se, but you do have a script. It's the one that you use, the same one you go every time to an appointment. Write it down on paper so you can call it a script. Write it down on paper so you can look at where you might get stumped, where you could improve it, etc. Here's a great thought. Be the leader in coordinating with vendors, HOA management, lenders, hands-on alongside with client through the process. I love that. Imagine. Now let's dive right into it because that goes along with all of them. But ultimately, this idea of overseeing the transaction. Okay, think about what could come up in a real estate transaction on the buy or sell side for a moment and think, what do you need to oversee? So that's my question to you. Get it in the thread here for just a moment. What do you need to oversee and what areas need to be overseen throughout a transaction? This is what I love to say to people. Anyone can get a house under contract, but not everybody can actually get the money in your bank account, right? Or not everybody can get you to the closing table. Why? Because there are little potholes and pitfalls all along the way that if you're not, and it starts with your ability to consult and advise someone. So let's look through these, guys. What ways do you oversee a transaction? Good. Why? Deadlines, capitalized and exclamation points. I feel like I should have screamed it. Deadlines. Deadlines are so important because, man, guys, I have to tell you, early on in my career, I had an experience once where I went due diligence deadline and we were past it. Guys, we were past the due diligence deadline. It was frightening for me to be put in that situation. Everything worked out and I was able to work it to where I didn't even look bad. But I am telling you, you get the wrong client and you're not in charge of your stuff. Whew. So look, you can't say I oversee the transaction unless you actually do. So deadlines is a good example. What do you do to be in charge of your deadlines? What do you do? What's your system? What's your approach? Do you put those deadlines in your calendar? Are you just aware of it? Do you have so few transactions happening that they're planted in your heart? Look, I had an agent not too long ago that basically had 0 deals under contract, and I helped this individual write a contract up, and we were talking about deadlines, and I'm telling you, this was a very touchy, emotional transaction. And as we worked through it, I said, I was helping this individual with, I said, when is the due diligence deadline? And the agent said, oh, Friday the 15th or something like that. And I said, I had only looked at the contract once and just helping confirm that it was all put together. And I said, I have a memory of it being like the 13th. You probably want to confirm that. And guess what? It was the 12th that day. Sure enough, the agent goes back and writes me back. Same thing. Why? All caps, exclamation point. You're right. It was the 13th. Imagine what can happen. So what are you doing to ensure that? So I love what you've got there. Someone's writing other ways we're overseeing due diligence, appraisal, proof of funds, and then calendar share with your client. Good, Jeanette. Imagine if after every deal goes under contract, you took the deadlines and you wrote a note to your client, and you had an email, a set email that went out, and then you had, as part of it, all of the deadlines and stuff, and you do a calendar into your calendar and share it with them. Really good. Proofread and calendar. Use a TC. Love it, but still proofing everything. I love it. Be the professional, right? Be the professional. Where do most deals fall apart? It's deadlines. It's communication. That's where things start to happen. Julie, good thought. Helping them get to the next step. I love that. That's the leadership, right? Taking them to the next level. And if you looked at a transaction, it might be, okay, under contract, loan paperwork fully submitted. If it's you're doing this on either side. Guys, if you are on a listing side and you want to oversee a transaction properly, you should know that all the paperwork's been turned in for the buyer when you're representing a seller. You should be communicating about that to make sure there's nothing goofy going on. Okay, let's keep going through that. Anything else helping them get to the next step? Good. Okay, guys, these look great. So look, those are your 4 areas. That is your job. And look, that's just us spending a minute here going through them, right? Number 1, you are a consultant and advisor. You consult and advise. Number 2, to market and expose a property. And my big challenge to you would be this: get creative on the way you're marketing and exposing properties. Even though we're in this market where sometimes homes can sell overnight, you still have this job where you should be telling your clients, I want to get the most amount of people in this property and get the most amount of offers in so that we can pick the best offer. And then number 3, negotiate. What's your negotiating strategy? What are the tactics that you use in communicating? Is it okay to call it a strategy and a tactic, right? Yes, it is, because that's what it is. It's a skill. Negotiating is absolutely a skill. You got to dial that one in, at least have the confidence to say, this is my approach. And 4th and finally, overseeing the transaction. You have to have the ability to look at all the pitfalls along the way, all the things that could go good, all the things that could go bad. And as was mentioned multiple times, future pace those and be in a good situation. So yes, thank you, April, for putting those back in there. Guys, oh yeah, one more overseeing title stuff. I mean, we could keep going, but guys, just know those are huge items and they're so critical. And I'm telling you, they are ingrained in me, even though I forgot the negotiating thing in the very beginning, but I was uncomfortable I knew I'd missed one. But consult and advise, market and expose, negotiate, oversee the transaction. This is your job. So make sure you have your strategy down, and you're going to go into your presentations with so much more power and authority. You're going to go into your workday with more energy and enthusiasm because you're more confident you know your job. And guess who's not talking about their job? Consulting and advising, marketing, exposing, negotiating, overseeing the transaction. Guess who's not doing it? Your competition. So what do you do when you step up and say, has anyone else told you exactly what their job is as a real estate agent? May I share that with you? Boom, you give them a very intelligent answer. You will stand out from the crowd. I promise that you will. All right, guys, it's been great to be with you this Friday morning. Love spending time with you and participating in Morning Ascent. Thank you for participating today and engaging in the chat line. I always think that's a lot of fun, and you guys had a lot of great stuff to say this morning. Thank you. Let's close out with some affirmations.